Example is that you ride through Southeast DC, you see some young guys drinking a beer, police might arrest them. But you go up Capitol Hill, you got some folks sitting in front of their house on their stoop drinking wine. Police just wave at them, have a good day.
No, man, Syracuse, I spent most of my adult life in Syracuse. They had two parades. They had the Juneteenth and they had the St. Patrick's.
They had Juneteenth up in Syracuse?
Yes, sir. Syracuse had Juneteenth. Yeah, let's talk about it. So St. Patrick's, you know them jokers are going through there drinking beer like it's water.
Yeah.
Open container, no issue.
Problem. No issues, nobody approach them.
When they did the Caribbean Fest and somebody had wine, they were given a citation.
So how are citizens to respond when you see the inequality of
Enforcement.
Yeah.
You hold the leaders of that organization responsible. You hold the police chiefs responsible. You hold the district commanders responsible. You hold the supervisors responsible.
So then at some point, depending on who the person is, you can get tired and lost in that fight because they're going to stick together, right?
You get isolated in their fight.
You can never get tired. You got to continue to fight. You can't get tired.
Because they seem to stick together. That's a tight-knit group right there. And so even when they know, and we see it played on TV all the time, right? I say, sometimes we kind of think things are entertainment, but they really are giving you an inside, view of how things operate. So we do know that is one entity that sticks together no matter what. Like that. Unless it's, I think.
Well, they stick together while they're working.
Okay.
Once they're off duty, they don't always hang out together. Now, when I was a police officer, there was supposedly a group of police officers at a club. And the way to get into this club was to shoot and kill a black person.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if the club exists because obviously I wouldn't be allowed in it. But there was a rumor that that club exists. Metropolitan Police Department of DC.
Do you believe it? I know that you don't know because you weren't a part of it.
I believe
do you
anything
see
is
it
possible.
happening?
I believe anything is possible.
Okay.
And then, but as you go back and look at the number of African Americans that were killed in that time period, it wasn't a lot. So if it was a club, what was it, 8 people in the club? So I don't know. It was just a rumor that club exists. So I when I get home, I'll probably have some text messages, and I'll probably have some Facebook messages about that. And if y'all are out there and you know anything about it, send it to me. Let me know.
So do you think with the current crisis that our nation is facing, with the police brutality, with all of the different groups that are demanding accountability, and so all of the rhetoric that's just kind of going back and forth between all of these groups that are rising and will rise, and do you ever see it getting to the point that martial law will be implemented?
Across the country or just in certain... Well, we had it in Baltimore during those riots. So it was there for a while, but across the country, no, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
No, never.
I don't know, man.
No.
If Donald Trump get in office, if Donald Trump get in office now, anything liable to pop off.
Now, also, when I said hold the police chiefs and the mayors accountable, you also have to hold the prosecutors accountable for charging the correct charge. You also got to hold the judges responsible for applying that law and not looking the other way, not that blind eye.
So in cases like, so let's talk specifically about what happened in Baltimore, okay? So even though the prosecutor charged the wrong charge, she implemented or went after the wrong charge, right?
Well, that's just my opinion.
Okay. But based off of the law, based off of circumstantial evidence, right? Let's just say that maybe her charging was too stiff, right? Hypothetically speaking, we speaking hypothetically.
And he had to speak up.
No, no.
And too soon.
Too much.
And too soon. I think
Let's
it should have
premeditate.
been. I think that investigation should have took a little while longer to get more facts together. I think those charges were going a little bit too fast,
So,
especially for that high profile case.
so do you think that, or is it possible? Was it feasible for the judge to lower the sentence
No.
or the charge?
No. That's not his or her position to do. It's whatever the prosecutor charges.
And so that's the part that citizens have to understand.
Yeah.
So
And
while
it's up
we're
to the government
upset
to
with the
prove that.
judge,
No.
while we're upset with the decision of the judge, we have to understand as citizens that it is not the judge's responsibility to pronounce the charges. They only get to evaluate the information that is presented to
The
them
evidence.
along with the charges that have been placed.
And if the evidence doesn't support the charge,
Then they have
Now,
to.
now I have to apologize. I had no idea that they were being charged with first degree murder. Because, and I don't even know how that happens, because that's like me charging you with racism. It's so hard
yeah,
to prove somebody's
intent.
intent and their mental makeup, because now you're talking about you gotta have a smoking gun, you know, something that they texted, wrote, something that said, I'm gonna go kill this cat today. You have to have something that said that in order for it to be considered premeditated.
When you get on your phone, you say, I'm going to go look for him, I'm going to get him.
Right. I mean, so I cannot imagine that they went for first degree murder.
Now, I could be wrong. But
Yeah.
that's my
Can't
recollection.
Mhm.
But you know what we have at our advantage?
Yeah.
Information.
Yeah.
Technology.
So if anyone knows, you can call us at
Technology.
240-455-5934, 240-455-5934. Because even a novice like me, I understand that it's very, very difficult to prove something like that in that situation.
So then, but do you then get to go back and retry with the
No.
right charges?
Nope.
Well,
Try twice at the same time.
it depends. Different jurisdictions can, like the federal system can go back and charge them.
Okay, okay.
And
Which,
it's not the six, so that double jeopardy doesn't apply. It only applies if it's the same jurisdiction trying you.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. Well, you know that's why it's important for you to know information.
That's why they need you to
We
know
have to
Dr.
be
ZaMiya's
educated.
up on it.
That's our job, right? To get up on it, on top of it.
That's-
But it gives you, like, I'm so glad that
You
we
gotta
had this
do it.
conversation because it gives you a different perspective. And so you understand that, like, clarity, we have to get clarity. And you know, I always say, before you can find out the proper solution to a problem, you
Yeah.
have to find out what the problem is. So in this case right here, and I always say it's beyond just a person dying, right? Yeah, of course we want justice when we feel like that we have been, dealt with wrongly, and we want injustice. We want justice for injustice.
Okay, so I've got to make a correction.
Okay.
So they weren't charged with first degree. They were charged ranges
Different ones.
second degree
To
manslaughter.
homicide.
to manslaughter.
Okay. That's a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
So then,
And one was charged with second degree assault. And there are also lesser included offenses as well. We haven't talked about that yet. Y'all like, what the heck is a lesser included offense? I'll give you an example, like a lesser included offense. Let's say you charge someone with carrying a pistol without a license,
mhm,
but they also have bullets in that gun.
mhm.
So that could be included as well.
Okay. Okay.
Or you're charged with first degree assault,
Mhm.
but second degree also is included in that, because to meet the elements of first degree, you had to commit that second degree as well.
Mhm,
So it
mhm.
could be something like that.
So now that we know the charges,
Yes, second degree to,
To manslaughter.
and so now how does that affect the laws that the judge used to determine whether the officers were guilty or
Well,
not?
again, it's the evidence
Okay.
that the prosecutor presented. And it was how well the defense attorney did.
Mhm.
And again, you just gotta convince
One
one person.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have had a trial by
Taking their
juries,
Mm-hmm.
It'd have been OJ all over them.
because you gotta think what the jury's made up of.
Mm-hmm.
People always have the impression it's made up of
What you see on TV.
your peers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not peers, it's a fair and impartial jury.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a jury of your peers and you're a drug dealer, that means it's gonna be all drug dealers on your trial, so that's not what it is. But you'd be hard pressed to find 12 people in Baltimore. After the riots they saw, after the things they see on TV,
Mm-hmm.
after everything that city went through, you'd be hard pressed to find 12 people to find them not guilty.
No, I mean, in earnestly speaking, had that been 12 jurors, there's no way in the world, and I'm not taking anybody's
Yeah.
side, there's no way with the atmosphere and sentiment that's going on that you would have had that kind of conclusion all the way across the board.
No.
But if it's one person making a decision, speaks for itself.
One person who knows the law, one person whose job it is to apply the law equally across the board. You got to convince that one person.
Who may have their own biases, and I understand what they're charged with, I understand what they're asked to do. But I can be asked to do a lot of things, but I still have my own personal prejudices.
So, Roland asked me a question
what
in the beginning of the segment, and he asked me basically, where did I see or what did I think the state of the African American community was at? I want you to answer that question. I'd like to hear your feedback on that.
I'm gonna change, we'll call it the Hebrew community from now on. We're gonna redefine ourselves, call each other Hebrews.
I'll tell you, like we've talked about being undereducated. I think we've got to go out and re-educate our neighbors. When we go to meetings and we go to events where they have an opportunity to learn things, we should drag them along. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard fight. It's not easy because people have other things going on in their lives that to them are more of a priority at that time. But if they look at the big picture, they would have realized, yeah, I probably should have gotten more information on X, Y, and Z. So when I told you before that you can't stop fighting, you can't stop fighting for your neighbor. You have to drag him or her out when there's opportunity that presents itself for them to learn something. And they get opportunity to go to a meeting where there's going to be some elected officials there. Go to those meetings. We have them all the time in DC. You can come and, you know, it will be a fraction of the people there that we represent. I represent 2,000 people. You think it's 2,000 people at my ANC meetings?
I'm sure it's not.
And it's 7 of us. So we represent collectively 14,000 people. And we may get 35 people at those ANC meetings.
Why do we think it's not important? Why are we so disinterested in the things that affect our lives?
Uneducation. You don't realize the information that's available to you.
Well,
You don't know what you don't know if you don't know it.
and that's definitely one of the answers. I mean, that's definitely a key part. Another reason why, and I will answer that in the form of a real, quick scenario. As much as sometimes he gets on my last nerve, Charles Barkley says he went to 2 communities, one in Beverly Hills and one in Southern California near LA. And he spoke to 2 groups. And the group that was primarily African American, he said, how many of you want to go to NBA and NFL? 95% of the kids in the room raised their hand. He said they went to Beverly Hills, a predominantly white community, and he said, how many of you want to go to NFL and NBA? He said 5% of them raised their hand. Same age group. So what happens, Dr. ZaMiya, right off the break, is that we're not engaged in those things because we're engaged in other things. So by process of elimination by itself, in order for you to make it to the NFL and NBA, do you know how much time I had to spend training, watching film, getting in shape, going to camps, etc., just to not make the NFL? So now, 20 years later, I see these meetings going on, that I couldn't even go to because I was so busy practicing and preparing to play ball. So if we find ourselves, any group of people that finds itself more interested in doing this than that, then that thing that they're more interested in is what they're going to excel at, vis-a-vis athletics, and where they're going to get the most participation. If he had a AAU basketball game with that same group of people, there'd be 400 people there watching that damn game. So he could take the same folks, move them from there to a basketball court, and you'll get a totally different response. So part of what we do, and I remember challenging some AAU coaches on it, and I said, do me a favor. Yeah, okay, all summer long, you don't have them playing ball. Well, why don't you, in between games, have a math tutor, have an English tutor, somewhere on the site. Let them go in there and work on their math. Let them go in there and work on English. Let them go in there and learn law. Let them go in there and learn economics. You know, why do they have to keep playing for 24 hours a day when this is the only time that they're going to congregate? And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like, what? And then when I put that model together at my school, where we combine academics and athletics, I got to do it 1 year, and after that, they said, you can't do it anymore. I said, it's working.
It's working, yeah.
But of course, since it was working, I couldn't do it anymore.
Because people like things that are broken. Our solutions are repulsive to us.
Well, the people who pulled the plug didn't look like us.
They didn't look like us, yeah.
Right.
Now, there's 2 more things I want to talk about.
Okay.
One is going back to the community. It's community involvement when we have crime that happens in our community. What people don't want to be is a snitch. However, these crimes are happening in your community. And the only way for us to solve these crimes is for someone to tell the police or to tell one of your elected officials who did it. If you don't, it's going to continue to happen in your community. So you have to be a snitch.
In order to see change.
In order to see change.
And justice.
And the very last thing I want to talk about, and I have to bring this up, is DC statehood. You know, DC, we pay more taxes as a resident of DC than 22 other states.
Wow.
But yet, we have no voice in Congress.
Wow. Wow.
That needs to change. And I challenge everyone out there, whether you're watching us or whether you're listening, to send a letter to your elected official and let them know taxation without representation can go on no longer. We need that representation. It's at the point where we don't control our own budget.
Wow.
We've got to get approval from Congress on how to spend our money.
Wow.
Our tax money. Someone who lives in Utah has the ability to say, oh no, you can't spend your money on that. We want you to spend your money on X, Y, and Z. And we have no say-so over that. So that needs to be changed. We're pushing strong for DC statehood.
Okay. And so, you know, again, that's another one of those issues, because I know people who live in DC all the time, and that's never a topic of discussion.
And it should be.
Because
How can it not be?
people don't even realize how things are affecting them because they are undereducated.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to do better. We have to start educating ourselves on the things that concern us and stop turning a blind eye or being nonchalant about the things that affect us, our community.
And you made a real good point. You said we need to start doing these things for things that concern us. The fact of the matter is that it's really not concerning us.
You know what? I don't know if I believe that. I think, okay, just like for instance, and I'll say, you're starting to see people retire, and before the year is over, they're having to go back to work. That affects you.
Yeah. But at the time to be concerned about that was 10, 15 years early.
But even now, when you're talking about 70-year-old people having to go back to work to survive, you know what I'm saying? At some point, you have to get sick of the way you're living, especially when you gave so much of your life.
In the beginning.
In the beginning. You know, you put your time in.
Or it could go back to what we have been saying all night, under
Education.
No, nobody told them what they needed to plan. They just assumed that when they retire,